Welcome to another edition of the Dementia Care Partner Talk Show. Now, here's dementia care expert Teepa and your host, Greg Phelps.
Hello and welcome to the Dementia Care Partners podcast. I'm your host, Greg Phelps, and joining me as usual is Teepa Snow. And Teepa, I think you call them aha moments. Well, I recently had one of those while on a cruise, and as lovely as it was, I got bored on occasion because we were rather contained or restrained on this ship. And then I thought of the TV ads for some of the retirement homes where there's a limo out front, the white linen tablecloths, movie theaters, bowling alleys, and how much of it reminded me of a cruise. And all that's great, but these aren't the type of people that really typically you get called to help, right? They're sort of in a special place by themselves. And
Well, even those people, interestingly enough, Greg, will get to a place where, listen, I need to get back to the office. I mean, I don't know who booked this, but I mean, I'm due back because it's all well and good to have fun, but then it's time to pay for the fun. And people who, even in that situation, they didn't get to that cruise situation with the limo without having done the heavy lift at some point. I mean, there might be a few people in the world, but I've been asked to work with several people who just thought they should get back to the job they'd done before after a while because it just didn't feel right anymore to be on this cruise all the time. So, but you're right. A majority of our folks are not living the cruise life. That's not it. And when we talk about restrained or contained, I mean, we're talking about a much more aggressive, and I'm going to use the word aggressive view of how to manage someone who doesn't want to be where they are doing what they're being asked to do. They don't like the person or people that are asking them, and they actually want to be somewhere else doing something else with a different value system. Yeah.
I was
So,
at one fine facility where couples were, certainly welcome and obviously, but as soon as one spouse became incapable, then the other spouse was not able to cope. And then, of course, they want to move them out because they don't want to actually care for them. I know the way I'm phrasing it might sound a little heartless, but I sort of viewed it as heartless.
yeah. I mean, when we say, oh, yeah, we can do that. And then you get there and it's like, oh, wait, well, we can do it if it's sort of exactly like this, but not if it starts being like that. And it's like, so help me out here, Greg. I'm just curious. What's your understanding of people over the age of 85 that are probably going to have some significant brain change? What percent? I mean, go with the low number, just so we know sort of what do you think the low number would be there?
Oh, I'm
Estimate.
thinking 70%.
Yeah, it's only 50. So it's
Oh,
about a 50-50 deal. 50% of us won't have brain changes that change our behavior in such a way that people would say, I can't deal with you here. And 50% would have some issues living in a space the way it was designed because I'm not getting what I was getting from it. Um, so why do you think people can? I mean, they've been doing this work for a while. Why do they keep saying yes, knowing that approximately half of the people they bring in will need some sort of additional support? Why say yes initially if you're going to turn around and say, oh, no, you're one of the 50%. We want you to go. Now, you, the good one, the one that's not giving us trouble, you could stay if you want to stay. And it's like, well, but the whole reason I came here was because he was starting to have, or she was starting to have some issues, and I needed support. Like I had recognized I couldn't do this alone. And it seems contrived to think that you wouldn't figure out the numbers are going up and we need modification of our plan to take into account half my cruise mates on this trip are going to end up with some changes that were going to require some new housing issues, some new support issues, some more activity engagement issues, some more possibilities of space issues and programming. I'm going to, wow, that's half the group. Maybe from the outset, I should do a better job of either sharing what I'm willing to do and what might very well happen, or I should be prepared to offer either ors as part of my service. I mean, why only provide for half a couple set or half a friend set or half a life set? If the industry's not willing to move, I think the industry is doomed to die. I think they'll come to a place where they can't fill the spaces that they have because they're not willing to change the spaces to the places people need. That's what we're seeing. They just,
Interesting.
I mean, they want the dementia units to be small and in the back. And in fact, what we need is the most of the building to be the unit where people can live with dementia. And the small area in the back could be the people who don't have any changes, but those people don't want to be in that space.
Well, it just
That's
suddenly clicked in my little brain that it actually is an industry. And industry is usually aware of trends. I mean, they've got all the data. They can run
they do.
everything. Yeah. So how we end up in a situation where we're having to consider splitting people up, and then there's no place to put the person who they want to
Because
move
the,
out.
'cause the numbers are too high and the care quality is so not okay because people haven't prepared to care for. I mean, it's like, well, not here. And then the answer is like, well, where? It's like, well, just not here. And it's like, I don't understand how this got to this place. I mean, I do. Ignorance and ignoring. Those two words are similar but very different. Ignoring something that you know is there and ignorance of its presence are two different things. And I think there was a lot of ignoring going on.
I'm actually kind of stuck for words because normally we try and offer people some sort of advice on what they can do, but people find themselves in this situation and they probably can't get out of it at a certain stage. They have to see it through. God help them.
Yeah. I mean, and that's why we're proposing radically changing this because this is not okay. None of us would want to go through it nor have someone we care about a lot go through it. And we are finding just family after family, situation after situation where they're being promised something that when they get there and they're in that moment, it's not being delivered. And it's like, we do have a few locations that are doing this thing we talk about, which is programming for need, but they're few and they're far between. And there's no reason the industry can't make that shift other than they've been unwilling to make the shift and no one has demanded that they make the shift because good enough is good enough until it isn't. And we're to the place where it isn't. It isn't. There's too many places where it isn't okay because people have absolutely no training, no skills, and no ability to support. And yet they've got somebody in the building that needs all that, and there's not another place to put them that's available. And so the family member is with them in the building because the move was made as a spouse partnership. Now what? Well, even if they have them at home, now what? We don't have the skilled staff to bring into the home. I mean, neither in Canada or the US or in Israel or in the UK. I mean, we are struggling to prepare people for this care. And yet the needs and the numbers are already present. So I mean, I wish I had a quick fix, Greg, but people have ignored and worked in ignorance for way too long. And now we need a radical shift. We just need something really radical to shake the cage and say, wake up and shift, or you're going down.
If people are struggling with this whole concept, is there somebody they can talk to? It's a very sort of specialized niche, and I don't know whether you have somebody that can spend the time talking to a client or what.
Yeah. Our consults, we do for sure a free bit of consulting. We do support group with on our Mondays once a month. We get together on a network call and we talk about this stuff because it is a hard place to be. And at least you know you're not alone and you're not the only one out there being asked to do the impossible with the inadequate. And I think until we raise our voices up, people will continue to try to give us third rate service in fourth class places and say it's enough. And it's like, I'm sorry, we've had enough. It's not enough. And we're collecting information and we will share the pain and offer what we can. And for right now, we're just keeping tabs and raising voices because we've got to do something. And sitting around and letting it happen is not okay.
Deepa, thank you very much.
Thanks, Greg.
You've been listening to the Dementia Care Partners podcast, brought to you by Positive Approach to Care. For more information, go to teepasnow.com.